Hey guys, Bradley's Garage here. I've got a BMW X5. Dealer wants $900 to do the rear brakes. That's right, I said 900. Can you believe these guys? Insanity. So let's go through the process and show you how you can get it done for under 300 and about an hour of your time. Let's do it. The first step is get the wheel off. Take your 17 millimeter, pull the lugs off, wheel comes off. Obviously you've already jacked the car up at this point. Step one, pull the outside retaining spring off the outside of the caliper that's holding the caliper to their carrier. And then you're going to take your little flat tip. There's two little plastic caps inside the rubber grommet. So we got the two caps out. Before you loosen it, you want to relieve some of the piston pressure just to make it easy to slide it off. So don't worry about the sensor, you're going to replace it anyway. So you just want to push it back, make it easier on yourself. Okay? Next, get your 6 millimeter Allen. You're going to pop these off. Keep in mind they're in a little rubber boot, so the head of the bolt kind of sticks a little bit. So once you get that off, you'll notice what I'm talking about. You just wiggle them a little. Okay. Then after you get these two out, you can just pull them back. They're away from the edge, and your caliper is going to come, right off. Sometimes this pad, will stick. It's no big deal. As you can see, we had about 4 millimeters on that side. The inside one looks like maybe 3 millimeters. And then we pull this off. It's a little dust boot over the leader, and that's what holds the sensor. And it's going to unplug up here in the harness, which I'll show you in a moment. Okay, so now we're going to take off the two caliper brackets. That's the only way we're going to be able to get the rotor off, is these two. So you can use, if you have the E whatever, you can use that. Otherwise you can use a 6.14 millimeter. Just slides right off. That is 6 millimeter Allen, and we're going to take off our set screw that holds the rotor on. Okay, and sometimes the rotor's stuck. You might have to give it a little love tap with a mallet from behind, and then it'll wiggle off. It gets stuck because rust accumulates here from washing the car in rain, etc. Give it a little wiggle, it should slide right off the e-brake, emergency brake shoes, no problem. Now, just get some brake cleaner. You just want to clean up the area a little bit. I like to just do a little brush on this, clean up the rust. We'll put a little anti-seize on this when we put it back together. That way, the next time we take it apart, we won't have any issues. Okay. Then you have the caliper here. You want to just pull these two pins out. Pull the two pins out. Just clean up any residue that's on them. We'll put a little grease on them when we do the reassembly, okay? The other thing is just do a little. This is where the brake pads, slide as they wear out. So I want to just clean those surfaces, make sure you got that looking nice. Okay, now you want to make sure that your caliper piston is all the way back, so you can just use channel locks to push the piston until it seats flush. And the same thing there, just clean up this area where the pad rides. Just a little brush. Looks pretty good. Alright, now we're ready to put everything back together. Okay, next step, get your anti-seize, and you want to put a little bead just around the edges so your rotor won't stick the next time you take it apart. Alright, now we're going to unbox our brand new Brembo rotors. These are 320mm in the rear. Pop these bad boys open and get your brand new set screw, which is always nice to change. Most of the time they're rusty. And get out your brake clean, and you want to just get this transit coating off. There's like a little film to prevent rust and corrosion while they ship. Just get that light little coat of brake clean. We'll take care of that for you. And now your rotor is ready to go. Just make sure when you're looking at this, you want to find your set screw hole to line up. Get your new set screw. Alright, next up is get your carrier, get that ready to go. Grab those E18 bolts, thread those in. I just spin them up with my hand, make it quick and easy. And you're going to either use your E18 socket, or once again that 14 6-point will also do the same thing. And then just cinch those down. Okay, next step is get your disc or pad anti-squeal or backing lubricant. Just want to put that on the surface of the caliper where the pad is making contact. This is going to prevent any squealing later on down the road after a few thousand miles. So just get that on, and then make sure, I like to put a little on the carrier as well. That's kind of the area where the pad slides in and out as it wears down. And then I get a little grease, and that grease is for your slide pins. This is so they are able to back off the rotor and not drag at all. So I just want to put a little lubricant on that because they get gummed up after miles of use. Our EUR 1042A is going to be for the rear. Okay. It also comes with some of the lube if you don't have the BMW stuff, but we already put some on. Okay, so your pad orientation, you have the one with the spring, goes inside the caliper piston itself, and the outside pad just rests there. There's nothing holding it. Your clip will be on later. Okay, I just have my, I'm just using a little Milwaukee light as my base so we don't put a lot of pressure on the brake line. You want to make sure both of your pins, you can't see any threads. You don't want them sticking through, otherwise you won't be able to lift the caliper. So since we pushed back the piston already, it's going to slide right into place, and then we can work on tightening those. Okay. Last step is to put the clip back on the outside of the caliper. This puts pressure to keep the caliper, fully seated on the outside. So I think the easiest way is to just get one side started like this, and then use your thumb to press out here. And then sometimes you need to give it a tiny bit of love. To get it to pop into place. And then once you're popped in, just make sure it's seated, and now everything's tight. Alright, so we want to finish taking the brake sensor wire completely out of the harness. It's just held in by some plastic clips. You can just use your pry tool. There's a little rubber grommet that's connected to the frame there, and then just work your pry tool on each of these clips, and it's, you just give them a little twist and they pop right off. They're just held in by the top, as you can see there, and it goes behind the inner fender liner there. Take your 8mm quarter drive, pull that bottom screw out, and then use your same pry tool to pull these little push clips out of your way. Sometimes the center flies out, but you're going to push it back in, so it's not a big deal.
You got to bend back your fender liner. It'll put a little crease in it, but you know, it's so much easier than taking the whole thing off. That's what holds the box here. And you have your exposure connector, and then it just pulls straight down. It's got a little rubber thing that holds it, and then you just want to stick your little pry tool in and then unplug. This is the rear brake sensor. I'm going to get this reconnected.
So you just want to kind of tuck it back in there. There's a little rubber grommet on the edge, kind of snaps into that plastic piece, and then just close the little cover, snaps in place, and then I kind of just, it's kind of tough, but just reach up in there and you know, pass it into the notch and in between the fender liner, and get your little screw, your 8mm, get your ratchet, and you know, cinch that guy down, and then grab the clips.
All you gotta do is just push these in, shove the middle, push it in, shove the middle.
Okay, now you're just routing that brake sensor wire. It's coming from behind the fender well there after you plugged in the new one, and just work it around. Follow it along just like you took it out. You just go clip by clip, get it into the groove, snap the clips, and just remember that one body one right there is has that rubber, so it's kind of tricky. It wants to stick in there, but holds it in place real nice. And then this one's always fun behind the shock. You know, it's really close, but reach in there and get it in the groove, and then you'll be able to put those little snaps and snap into place, and then you're ready to insert it. So you'll see on the sensor wire, it's kind of like a little half moon shape, and you'll notice on the end there a little half moon. So that's going to fit right inside the brake pad. So there's a little cutout notch, and it really is pretty straightforward. It just pushes right in. And then I throw a little anti-seize on the lip. That's just to make it easy for you to take your wheel on and off. So just do a quick wipe down. You see how it's rusty there? That's just what happens from car washes and stuff, rain. And so there's a little bit of rust on the wheel hub. So I just throw a little anti-seize. It just makes it easier to take the wheel on and off the next time. And there you go. Toss the wheel on. Get your lugs. I always throw a little anti-seize on the lugs as well. And then, you know, screw them on by hand. Get them in place. And then you're going to, you know, I just usually do a quick zip with the Milwaukee, and then we'll be ready to, you know, torque them down. And the torque spec is 103 foot-pounds. So like I said, I just spin them up so they're snug, and then get out the torque wrench after you put the car back onto the ground, and crisscross applesauce, and boom, you're done with the torques. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch us on the next one.